welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here. Many of you email me, message me, DM me about a huge challenge you find with following your goals, which is how to stay consistent. How to stay consistent at your goals, okay? And I believe consistency is a superpower. I believe you can have 10%, maybe not 10%, 20% of talent of somebody else and be way more successful because you are consistent. And I'll use myself as a real example. I know people who are way better looking, smarter, have way more talent than me, but I've been able to achieve, if we talk about similar goals, I've been able to achieve the goals they wanted because not because of my talent, because I don't have that much of it compared to them, but because I'm very, very consistent. Out of all the things in my life, I had to say, one things that I'm good at is being consistent. And so the question is, how do you stay consistent? Because I think if you're consistent, it means you can worry less about the fact that you don't have the skills or you don't have the talent. And it relieves the pressure because if you can stay consistent, you will outwork and outshine everybody else with that skill of being consistent. So let's get into it. So actually, confession, I was comparing myself. I was saying, oh, with this YouTube channel, how do I stay consistent with the YouTube channel? And I was starting to get demotivated because I was looking at others who have beautiful thumbnails, who have amazing in-shot, out-shot, and I'm just here chatting away. And I really don't have the capacity to spend a lot of time on YouTube because I'm running 6 blogs. And number one, what really helped me was looking at other successful people who aren't perfect. So I actually found this guy, he's like a farmer Jack. He's such a cool guy and he has no thumbnails on his videos and he's sitting there in the farm smoking a cigar. I'm Farmer Jack. And he just chats away and he has an amazing audience. And it really relieved me because I said, wow, he's been able to slowly achieve success and get the traction he needed. And it's not perfect. And so I think tip number one is if you're feeling like you need to be perfect with the goal, you need to make sure you do this, you do that, you do this. If it's your blog, you're saying, oh, I need to have an email list and have a Pinterest and my blog needs to be perfect. I would look for examples of people who in your eyes are successful, but they are not perfect. I get super inspired by people who don't have the perfect Instagram feed, but they have a large audience. Don't have perfect curated emails, but they have a large email audience. They don't have perfect blog posts, but they have traffic. So that would be step number one. I would find role models who you admire who aren't perfect, because to me that helps me realize I can stay consistent because I can do small things. Okay, so step number one, if we're talking about, well, a lot of you here are bloggers or newbie bloggers, how do you stay consistent with your blog? I want you to look at people who are able to move forward with their goals imperfectly. So you might like give the side eye, you're like, whoa, there's a grammar mistake in their content. There's a, the pins aren't particularly amazing, but you can see they're getting progress. Take note of them. Let them inspire you, because I find people who are imperfect and moving forward regardless quite inspiring, and it gives me hope that I can move forward in a small way. So that's step number one. Number two is I would, and this is so cliche, and I really didn't want to mention this, but it's true, is what I do, is you need to pick a specific goal, right? You need to decide on what is the thing that you want to tackle. So is it you want to earn $3,000 or $1,000 first from your blog? Is it that? Is it $10,000? I don't know. Whatever your goal is. Is it you want to lose 20 kg, or 20 kg is a lot. You want to lose 5 kg. What is the goal, the specific goal that you want to go for? Are you very clear about it? And then what I do, which is very, very important, is I break down the steps and the actions to get me there. So for example, if you say, I want to earn $1,000 from my blog, okay, how? How are you going to do that? What actions are you going to take? So you move it backwards and say, okay, the formula to make money blogging is traffic multiplied by monetization. What traffic source am I going after? Write that down. What monetization source am I going after? Is it ads? Is it affiliates? Write that down. And then you decide, okay, let's move that back a bit more. So if I'm going to pick traffic, what traffic source? So which traffic source? Is it Pinterest? Is it Google? You can't do all at once. You need to break it down smaller and smaller. So say example, we want $1,000 from our blog. We're like, okay, we're going to focus on Pinterest traffic and we're going to focus on ad revenue. So instead of many revenue sources, we're going to focus on Pinterest traffic multiplied by monetization. We're going to focus on ad revenue. Cool. Then we move that back one more. Okay, how are we going to increase our Pinterest traffic? What are the actions we need to take to get us to a point where Pinterest traffic has increased, where the ad revenue is 1,000? How much traffic do you need, right? So then you move that backwards and say, okay, what actions am I going to take to increase my Pinterest traffic? It could be writing content, could be creating pins, there's many actions. So what happens is you break down and you move it backwards and you move the steps and you break it down. What will happen is you will have these granular actions, all these actions you need to take, and then you put it in a timeline. So when you say timeline, what do you mean by that? What I mean by a timeline is I will draw out my year and I will write down generally every month the actions that I'm focusing on. For example, say we go back to the example of I want to earn $1,000 from ad revenue. You say, okay, that's the goal. So let's break it down into months. So the actions are, we need to write content. We need to do, first of all, keyword research on Pinterest. We need to actually write the content. We need to get images. Then we need to upload the content. Then we need to create the pins. These are all different actions. And so I allocate those actions into different months. And so when you do that, you suddenly realize that you always have a consistent thing to focus on. Whenever you're being distracted, like, what do I focus on? You're drawn back to that timeline, that line that says, okay, this month we are focusing on this. So like, I'm going to show an example. There's so many times when I get distracted by many things and you can't really see, but I have here, I don't know if you can, you probably can't see because of the light, guys. But anyway, you'll see here, there's like a timeline. I don't know if you can see it. If you can't, I'm really sorry. But it's a line with different blocks here. And sometimes when I'm like, oh, what am I focusing on this month again? I go back to my notebook and say, okay, that is my timeline. And those are the actions for every month. You need to be very clear when you get swept away with different things in life. You can bring yourself back visually to the thing that you're supposed, the actions that you need to focus on. So definitely, first of all, write down your goals, break it down, and then draw a line and allocate those actions into different months. Okay? So that's number one. Now, number two. First one was pick an imperfect role model. Number two was pick a realistic goal, break down the steps, and allocate in a timeline. And then number three is you need to be very, very realistic. The mistake I see people make when it comes to being consistent is they think that they have to be consistent with everything in life. Okay? But the reality is if you are focusing your energy and time on one thing, then you are not going to be consistent with other things and you have to be okay with that. So for example, if I really want to be consistent and focused on, maybe on my blog and really pushing hard to get the first 1,000, it's going to be maybe you can't exercise as much. Maybe you can't spend as much time with your family. And it's going to suck because you're going to feel like, man, I'm a failure. I'm falling behind in those other areas, but that's okay. It's a temporary sacrifice you're making for this goal. Okay. You need to let some things fall behind in order for you to move forward and focus in one area of your life. Okay. You can't be perfect in all areas of your life. So accept that. Number three is, I really think that you need to measure the actions, not only the results. So the mistake I see people that demotivates them when it comes to being consistent. They say, well, I'm not making even $10. How can I make $1,000 for my blog? But the thing is, you are not going to make $10 if you have not completed the actions. So I prefer to measure the actions I need to take and instead of the results. So let's just say you're like, well, okay, how do you do that? So measuring the actions are when you decide, okay, this week I'm going to create 30 pins. That is a measure. You're measuring the actions. Tick, I've done that. Next week after that, I'm going to write a blog post. action. You have to measure. So then you look back and say, these are the steps I need to take. Have I done them? I always measure the actions, not the results. The results will happen naturally if you complete the actions, because what will happen if you just look at the results and you hyperfixate on results, you'll get demotivated because the results won't happen because you haven't done the actions. And so it's far more productive for you to measure the actions you've done every week. At the end of the week, I look at my list. Have I look at the timeline? Have I completed the actions that are steps towards the goal? And it helps me stay more focused. Okay. Now, another thing that's really helped me with consistency is um actually I realized how you know what proof do I have that I'm consistent? You might be a stranger here and be like, actually, who are you? And how do I know your superpower is being consistent? I think I'm very consistent. There's many things that I'm terrible at, but being consistent is one of them, because I'll start with, for example, my blog. I started in 2017, and I've been able to consistently work at my blogs nearly every day. Sometimes I take time off, but I've been able to continuously work through through the ups and the downs to get them earning a full-time income or more. So I feel like a lot of people struggle with turning their side hustle into a main hustle because they don't stick at it. But I like to stick at things because I believe that it's your superpower. If you can stick at things, it will be the one thing that brings you forward. You don't need that much talent if you can stick at things. Okay. And so also, if you look at my Instagram, I'm pretty consistent there. I upload stories nearly every day. Come follow me on Instagram. It's Aisha Priest. And you'll see that I'm pretty consistent with putting out content every day on my stories, and that's allowed me to grow and build a community. Okay, so I was digressing. Back to accountability. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Tip number 5. I find it very useful to push myself by putting it on social media, because I do not like it when people say something and they don't honor their promises. To me, my word is gold. I have to honor my word. So when I really, really want to stick to something, I make it public. I make people know. So for example, my YouTube channel. I didn't really want to share my YouTube channel till it was like growing, but I thought if I share my YouTube channel, people know I said I'm going to grow YouTube channel. It now forces me to be consistent. For you, it might be you have an accountability buddy. You might have one other person you say, I'm going to do this. And some days I do that with my husband. So let's say I'm kind of like being a bit lazy, I'm falling behind with something. I needed to do some collaboration thing. It was quite important, but I was just like, kind of didn't want to do it. And I texted my husband, I said, listen, today I'm going to do this. When you come home, check that I've done that. Make sure I've done that. And don't let me go for before I want to go for my run and mess about and play around, make sure I've done that. So for me, it's like accountability really helps me a lot. So my accountability is letting people on social media know. Your accountability could be telling your partner, telling somebody that you care about to hold you accountable. Okay. So tip number 6. Here's a big one. I have fallen behind so many times with my goals. So many times. Like, I think I have sometimes I have unrealistic expectations when it comes to goals. And when I look at my timeline, I look at my goals, quite often they happen way, way far ahead than I anticipated. Okay. So eventually they happen, but it takes longer than I thought. But it doesn't mean that I give up. Like this YouTube channel, I was supposed to create this YouTube channel 2 years ago. But just because I haven't done it doesn't mean I'm failing. It means when I'm ready, I will do it. And it's okay. Be okay with the fact that you are going to be behind with your goals, and that's okay. Just don't give up. Tip number 7 is embracing the boredom. And so I really, really struggle with this. So I have shiny object syndrome. I don't know if you can relate. And I often find that when I'm starting to get consistent and I'm starting to get in the flow of things, I get bored, and then I'll find something to distract me, and then I'm no longer consistent. And actually just this week, I was starting to feel bored, and I was like, I don't know. I didn't have any mojo for the day. And I realized it's because all the things that I was implementing in my business was ticking along. It was growing. It wasn't skyrocketing, but it was growing slowly. And I was feeling quite bored. And I was like, maybe I should try something else. And then I had to hold myself back and say, hang on a minute. Allow yourself to embrace the boredom. If you're feeling bored with your business, it's good because it means that there's no fires you're putting out, right? So I allow myself to remember that. Well, they say there's this saying about being in a toxic relationship. They say when you've left a toxic relationship, peace feels like boredom. Okay. And it's a bit like that in your business. When you are constantly fighting fires in the start of your business, when you finally have peace and it's growing, you think, this is boring, but it's actually good. You need to feel the boredom. It's good if your business feels boring because it means that you're doing all the right things and you're moving forward. Okay. So embrace the boredom and allow yourself to feel peace and go find excitement. Go find excitement outside work. Go do something else to distract you so you don't distract yourself from things within work. Okay. So tip number 8 is, and I do this and I religiously do this, is I review and write my list every regularly, periodically. So, for example, you know how you remember how we had that every month we have an action, big action we have to take. I break it down into small steps at the start of the week. So on a Sunday, I will already have a list of things to do for the week on Monday and the actions, and I allocate those actions on different days. So every single week on a Sunday, I will go and say, how far have I come with the actions, not the results, the actions. I say, okay, this week I need to do this action. Okay, what day am I doing this? Monday, maybe I'll be creating 10 pins. Tuesday, maybe be writing an email. Wednesday, maybe I'll be writing a blog post, right? And so I will allocate those actions in the week. So it allows me to know, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, straight away, I know what I'm doing. Furthermore, when I finish for the day, I create the list for the next day. I don't, there should not be a time where you wake up in the morning and be, what am I working on this morning? That decision fatigue is unproductive and it prevents you from, and it prevents you from being productive and it prevents you from being focused because you get dragged by other things around you, your distractions. So when I wake up, I already know because I made the list yesterday. I know what I'm working on in the morning. Boom, let's get to work. I don't have to think. So after today, for example, I'll finish today. I will look at my list for tomorrow and I'll write down the things I'm focusing on tomorrow. So when I wake up, I know immediately what I need to be focused on. I need to know my priorities. So I'm not distracted by emails, by YouTube videos, by other people's priorities. So constantly write lists, review the lists. Okay. Sunday, every day after when you finish work, write the list for the next day. And they have to be linked to that main goal that you put at the start of the month. Always tie it into the main goal so you feel like you're funneling into that goal. Okay? So another thing here that I write was, what did I put here? Number 9 is, okay. It's it says basically here, if you don't see it on your calendar, then it won't happen. You have to plan for it. And it's kind of linked to the previous tip on making sure you put the list every day. If you do not see the action on your calendar, it is not going to happen. So if I say I want to grow my Pinterest traffic, what are the actions that I need to take? So then you break them down into mini actions. I need to do keyword research. I need to create the pins. I need to schedule the pins. I need to write the content. All of those are actions. If I do not see those actions in my week and I do not allocate the day that I'm doing it, it's not going to happen. Similarly, if you want to lose weight, if you do not see exercise in your week, then you're not going to exercise. If you do not carve out time and say, I'm going to exercise from this time to this time, and it's good, and you put that in your calendar, if you don't see it in your calendar, it's not going to happen. So plan for it. And so, this is what I keep saying, guys, in my YouTube videos. I really don't understand my own writing. So it says here, something distractions. Park distractions. I don't know. I can't understand my writing. But my last tip is, oh no, this is a good tip. Okay, 2 more tips. This is a good tip, okay? When you are feeling, and this is related to, I'm going to relate this to blogging, right? I know for a fact that right now you're getting emails, oh, we should try Facebook groups, we should try quizzes, we should try Flipboard. There's so many things we could be doing. And like, I'm sure when you have a goal that you want to go for at work or your personal health, they're like, oh, you could try this, you could do it. And you're like, what do I focus on? But this is a better idea. I have this thing where I say, park it. When I park it, I say to myself, just because I don't do it now doesn't mean I won't do it in the future. So it doesn't mean I'm losing the opportunity. It means I'm going to be focusing on that opportunity later. So, for example, right now I know that Flipboard, Facebook groups, all these other ways to drive traffic to your site are so exciting. And I'm like, well, what am I missing out if I don't focus on it? I park it and say, I can focus on those once I have finished my Facebook my Pinterest strategy. Okay, so I say once I have completed the actions that I have set out for Pinterest to grow my traffic, then I will look into Facebook. Then I will look into all the email, Flipboard, whatever. So it's the park it strategy. You're not saying no. You're not saying you're not going to capitalize on the opportunity. You're saying park it, save that email, save that course in your inbox. When you have finished these actions, then you can look at the other things. And that helped me a lot with staying focused. I park it and say, not now, but not never. It means in the future, I will deal with it. And finally, and this is so, so important, it's creating an environment which makes it easy for you to stay consistent. And this is a huge, huge mistake people make. And I'm going to give an example of, say, working out or eating healthy, right? You want to work out. So let's say you finish work, you're tired, you're like, oh, I need to work out, but I don't feel like it. And oh, I have to find my gym clothes. Oh, what workout am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Make it easy by planning the habits so it's easy for you to implement. So for me, on Sunday, I've already picked the workout clothes and I put it in a corner for me to work out. So as soon as I finish, boom, I can grab my clothes and I know my workout's going to be 5 kilometer run. Your workout can be maybe, I don't know, going to the gym for 30 minutes, but make it easy. So similarly, when eating healthy, like I want to make sure I eat veg in every meal. Sunday, I meal plan. Sunday, I plan all my meals, and what I do is we do grocery shopping on Sunday. And so in the week, all we need, and to be honest, I try and cook. I try and cook enough food on one day so we eat dinners for 2 days. Again, make it easy. And so when you do it that way, there's no other way for you. You can't eat unhealthy because you're finishing work. You're like, okay, we already have this recipe we need to do. We have the ingredients. Boom, boom, boom. We're eating healthy. If you finish work, you don't have the groceries, you don't know what to make, you're like, let's just order a takeout. It's easier. You need to make it easy to do the habit. And so when I want to think about my blogging goals, so let's say when it comes to Pinterest, I make sure that the next morning Pinterest is open, my spreadsheet is open. So my Pinterest spreadsheet's open because right now I'm focusing on Pinterest. Maybe next month I'll be focused on something else, right? A year ago I was focused on Google traffic. So my Google traffic spreadsheet was up. Make it easy for you to implement that task. So if you know the next day you're going to focus on Pinterest, cool. Get your Pinterest up, get your Pinterest spreadsheet up. Next morning you're like, boom, I'm focusing on Pinterest. And also like I make my environment easy to do it. Like, in the morning I get up, I get changed, I get shower, boom, I get to it. I don't check emails I try not to check emails in the morning. Like I tell myself I won't respond to emails in the morning until I finish the main priority for the day. And I'd like to also, and I haven't added this to my list, but I also say, like, for my list, don't make your list too long. I say focus on 2 main priorities. And it's okay if the rest of the tasks spill over, but focus on, I'd say, 1 main and then another one if you want. I really say, if I said I want to create 30 pins today, cool. 30 pins today is my task. Tick. Then as a bonus, I have other tasks, but I don't try and do too much on my list because I need to stay focused. And that's what the thing that people do, they get distracted by the list. You need to decide what is your main priority for the day. I normally pick 2. Okay, so is it creating pins and then writing an email? And then I tick those off and then I can relax. I can continue with my list. I can chill out. I can get distracted. I can read emails. But have, maximum 2 priorities for the day. Okay, so wow, this is a long video, but I hope it's helped you. So just to summarize, if you're writing this down, the first to stay consistent was pick an imperfect role model. Go ahead and look for imperfect role models that are going to help you realize you don't need to be perfect to continue with your goals. I would pick a specific goal, break down the steps, and then create a timeline. Number 3, accept that other things in your life are going to fall behind, and that's okay. You may not be the perfect parent, perfect partner. It's okay. It's okay. You might not exercise as much. It's okay, as long as you know that you're staying focused. And number 4 is measure actions, not results. So you constantly measure the actions you've taken. And number 5 is accountability. So if you have somebody that you say, hold me accountable, tell me, make sure that I do this. I use social media. And number 6 is allow yourself to be patient if you fall behind with your goal. It's okay. Just because you fall behind, you're behind the timeline, it's okay. Like just the other day, I told my students, I have to make this amount by the end of the year. And I said, okay, and if you don't, then what? Accept that it may not happen. It's okay. We won't give up. We'll continue. Okay. Number 7 is embrace the boredom. Expect that, this is peace. Peace is good. Allow yourself to be bored, so to be consistent. Number 8 is list. Make sure you review your list on a Sunday, in the evening. Make it easy for you to keep on reviewing the list. And number 9 is if you don't see it on your calendar, it won't happen. You have to plan for it. Put it in your calendar. Number 9 is park it. Park other distractions. You say, maybe not now, but not never. So park it. I will deal with that later. We need to stay focused on the action. And number 10 is create an environment that's easy for you to stay your goals. What can you do to make it as easy as possible for you to tackle your goal? For me, my laptop's here, ready to go. When I wake up, get a shower, and boom, I'm ready to work on my goals. Okay? Well, I hope that helped. Let me know if there's any other tips you have to stay consistent. Any questions in the comment. Thanks for watching.